Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Adam Smith, and inside this video we head into the finale for Dungeons of Infinity from Sky Kingdom Games. If you haven't had a chance to check out my game unboxing for the deluxe version of the game, or the setup video for the coin quest, or part number 1 of gameplay, I definitely recommend you check those videos out. I'll put the entire series up in the top right hand corner right now, but the one you need to watch for sure is part number 1 of gameplay to see exactly how we got to where we're at right now. Where we left things off in part number 1 is we were inside the dungeon with Akashi and Sephiroth as they were trying to accumulate 10 coins worth of value for each of them. Now Akashi currently has 7, whereas Sephiroth has 8, but we're getting close to that 10 for each, and once we do, we just have to get back to this merchant tile right here, and of course, we've got the Dungeon Lord in play now, adding even more fun and tension to the equation. Zogan the Giant ended up being our random Dungeon Lord for the coin quest, and as you can see, he is definitely a powerful foe. He's got 13 for power, and his defense is 11. The Dungeon Lords, which are the ultimate enemy in this game, are the toughest by far, and so you're going to have to be well equipped in order to have a chance to take these enemies down. The other alternative or option is to avoid them at all costs. Going through gameplay from this point forward, no longer having a threat meter, the Lord event deck is going to be drawn as we go through the dungeon. Anytime we see the assess the threat symbol, we're going to immediately draw a card from this deck. So right after we finish what we're doing, we'll draw a card right from the event deck at that point in time. The ones that accumulate and will happen at the end of a character's turn after they refresh their AP are the Lord event actions found in the bottom right-hand corner of each character's dashboard. So Sephiroth, our Fire Mage, has Lord Event actions, which are tied to running and combat. Akashi has 3 Lord Event actions, move, run, and combat. We will lose this scenario if even one of our characters becomes completely exhausted, which is our health reaching 0. So we're going to try and avoid that at all costs. Without further ado, let's dive into round number 1, and we now get to choose which character is going first and which one's going second. I'm going to choose to have Sephiroth start us off, and Akashi will follow up behind her. Now, currently, both my heroes are doing pretty good for their HP. She is fully healthy at 15, whereas Akashi has a couple hits against him, down from 13 to 11. So we're still doing pretty good for HP. Now, as many of you remember from part number 1, Sephiroth has a really cool ability called Firelight, allowing her to reveal an adjacent tile to her, and while that's super useful before the Dungeon Lord comes out, once he is out or she is out, it becomes a lot more dangerous as the assess the threat icon is on it. So after we were to resolve this, we'd have to pull a Lord event card. Again, that progresses what the actual Dungeon Lord is doing, and that is not necessarily a good thing. So using Firelight over and over and over again could cause lots of problems. So we might have to start going into tiles blindly. We can certainly still use it, but it carries a little more risk at this point. I'm going to choose to use one of her 4 AP points to get her in the same room as Akashi. As where things are getting a little bit dicey, we're going to go ahead and move into this space right here. That'll be her second AP spent, down to 2 remaining. Now let's find out what Sephiroth has walked into. We found tile 23, and a body token will be placed there based on the tile content chart. Also making sure that the tile is placed correctly based on the blue arrow coming from where we just moved through. And now we actually have the availability to go north, which is good. I'm hoping to be able to go north and then wrap over here and come back down this way, kind of creating a loop that he has to run through. Now I'll spend an action point to have her inspect this body token. Off the top of the body deck, this is what we have. It is Lucky 7. It's listed as a quest. It says, I have lost my precious ring, a gift from my love. I was in a room with a green bush. I swore I lost it there, but I've had no luck finding it. If you happen to do so, the note is torn and you can read no more. It says, find tile 7 and clear it of risk tokens and enemies if required. Spend 2 action points to search for the ring. If you do so, gain 4 coins. So we actually have a quest card here that gets attached to our hero board for Sephiroth, and the only way to remove the card as a quest is to complete it. So quests are simply attached to the character that found it, so you can essentially just place it next to the dashboard or right on the character's artwork if you wish, just somewhere near to where that hero is. And essentially these are just new opportunities that have been uncovered as you go through the dungeon. You are not committed to having to do them. They're just opportunities for you to go after. And I spent an AP in order to examine that body, so we have 1 AP remaining. And as tempting as it is to head north and see what we find, moving into a brand new tile on your final AP is not a wise decision. I think I'll spend that final AP in order to make her a little less noisy. I don't want her to be the primary character that the Dungeon Lord is going after. Akashi has 5 noise, but she has 6 because she has a default of 3, plus her singing staff is very noisy. So I'll use 1 AP right now in order to unequip this, and we'll place it in her inventory. Now, there might be a time frame where I actually re-equip this thing right away because her carry limit right now is 4. So she can have this in her backpack, this, the key doesn't count as 1, and these 2. So right now she's maxed out her carry limit, which is A-okay, but in the future, if we gather more stuff, I want to have room for 1 more item. So I might have to actually put this back on. Again, we're trying to keep that coin value, so we kind of have to jam as much on her as possible. Now, there is a backpack at the merchant, but the Dungeon Lord is literally sitting right next to it right now. Not a good idea to head there. With no AP remaining, she's going to end off her turn right there. No enemies are focused on her to attack her, so nothing to worry about there. We're going to refresh her AP and check to see if she triggered any Lord event actions, and she did not. She didn't do any running, and she didn't do any combat. So we'll head over to Akashi, and he is ready to inspect the body token that's in his space. We'll spend 1 AP, dropping from 3 to 2. Top card off the body deck is... Hey, check this out, a nice orb. This is a 2-value item, and it also has an elemental enhancement of +2. So this is actually known as an enhancement. You can put this on weapons. Unlike Sephiroth, his carry limit is actually default 6, so he can carry quite a bit, and he's also got 1 key in here somewhere. Yep, so this one doesn't count as part of the carry limit, so 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got room for 2 more beyond this, and we might want to actually place this on a weapon. Now, the key thing to note about putting an enhancement on a weapon, and this is a weapon enhancement, as you can see from the icon right here, is that you need to ensure it's a one-handed weapon, and this Power Beast is not. It's a dual-handed weapon. Yes, I have it sitting in one of the 2 hand slots. Normally, you kind of place it in a way in which it shows that it's in both, but I've just placed it in one because I'm remembering it's dual-handed, but I cannot place this orb using an enhance action in order to enhance the Power Beast. But what I could do is I could unequip for an action the Power Beast and go ahead and take a one-handed sword that I have and place it in one of the slots, and that would give me the alternate slot open for the orb to do an enhance action. Now, I don't want to use both of my actions, the remaining ones I have, to do an equip and then an enhance. So what I think I'll do, because I want to be productive in terms of getting through the dungeon as well and kind of catching up to Sephiroth, I don't have as many actions as her anyway. I think what I'll do is I'll unequip this Power Beast for 1 action, and that is going to also allow me at any point in time to go ahead and re-equip any items that I want, so I can put a single-handed sword here. Now, the power of this new weapon is not going to be as strong as the prior one, so we have to adjust our power immediately, so dropping down to 6, but it does have the elemental boost there on the ice side of the equation. As you can see in the future, I could even do it right now with my remaining AP, as I mentioned, but I don't want to do enhance. I want to move instead. But later, what I'll probably do is spend 1 to enhance, and I'll take this orb, and I'll be placing it right here, and then the Iron Ice Sword is going to have the fire and the ice element attached. I'll use my final action here in order to move to get in the same room as Sephiroth. Strategically, I'm trying to keep the party together because as of this moment, being close to getting the coin value we need, I want to make sure we can make a full run together and work together even with our carry capacity limit and our ability to trade in order to get what we need on ourselves to be able to exit at the right time. So we'll try and keep the party together as we push forward. Now, unlike Sephiroth's turn, at the end of Akashi's turn, his action points are now gone. He's going to replenish his 3 AP, but he did actually trigger a Lord event action, and that was to move. So we are going to be pulling one of the Lord event cards. Top card off the deck ends up being this one right here that says move 1 towards the closest hero. Again, we're resolving the bottom, but we reference the color above. Now, in terms of variations of a sentence like this, there are 4 different ones in the game. There's move 1 towards the highest noise, move 1 towards the closest hero, move 1 towards a hero with a number of noise, a specific number, or move 1 towards the hero with the lowest noise. Now, those are the ones we can find as we go through this event deck. It's also worth mentioning, though, there is a set of cards, which I did not include inside of this play, which can increase how nasty the Dungeon Lord is in terms of movement. It will bump his movement up to 2. We are told on the card, move 1 towards the closest hero. And what that means is exactly what it says. The Dungeon Lord immediately moves 1 dungeon tile towards the closest hero, but it's regardless of noise. The only reason that noise would come into the equation is if 2 or more heroes are equally close to the Dungeon Lord, then he would move towards the one with the highest noise. And if there's still a tie, the player in my case, gets to choose. Also notice the color of the ring around the numerical number. In this game, Lord event cards come in 3 colors, blue, red, and orange. Right now, we only care about blue and red. If the card has a blue icon and text, the Dungeon Lord will prioritize movement. If the Dungeon Lord is currently focused on a hero, they will disengage from combat and move according to the text on the card. If the Lord event card would have caused them to move towards the hero they are currently focused on, they attack instead. And on the opposite side of the coin, if the card has a red icon and red text, the Dungeon Lord will prioritize combat instead of movement. And in that situation, if the Dungeon Lord is currently focused on a hero, they will not disengage from combat and will continue to attack the hero they are focused currently on, regardless of the text of the card. They will only move if they are not focused on a hero when the card is drawn. So the Dungeon Lord for us is absolutely focused on movement based on the color of the card. It tells us to move one towards the closest hero. They're both in the same spot anyway, so it would normally be the highest noise. He's basically just heading straight for our tile. We now check for any end of round maintenance to do. We don't have any currently, so we head right into the next round. I think we'll keep with that strategy of having Sephiroth go first. She has the most action. She can accomplish the most on her turn, and then Akashi kind of coming up behind for support, being the tank of the situation. Let's keep trying to find more coin value inside this dungeon. Let's go ahead for one. We're going to have her move out. I'm not going to use Firelight. We've walked straight into tile 16, and this tile is known as a debris tile, so we'll place a token down. Let's spend another action point from her, so she'll drop down to 2 action points remaining to examine the debris. Off the top of the deck, we found ourselves Purifying Dust. That sounds pretty good, and it's a decently valued item at 3. That's sweet, and it's also lightweight as well. That's amazing. This says at the bottom, remove all combat status effects from all heroes in this dungeon tile. That's great, but I'm going to be keeping this because it is worth a pretty penny. Now here's a look inside her inventory. Currently, she's got 2 lightweight items that don't count towards her carry capacity. So the 4 capacity she does have is taken up by all 4 of these, which is perfect. And she actually has 11 total coin value across these cards. Is actually pretty amazing because looking at Akashi's inventory, and again, I'm not even counting his Ice Sword, which is a value of 2. He's also got the Orb in there. He's got the Power Beast. He's got a sword. He's got a health potion and a key. This doesn't count towards his capacity in terms of carrying things, but these 4 do. And of course, his Ice Sword is equipped, so that doesn't count towards the capacity limit either. But the cool thing is he has room for 1 more item. So essentially, if he just does a trade with Sephiroth for a 1 coin item, that's going to do it. And both of them will be carrying the 10 necessary to get out of this dungeon. Now, in terms of strategy, the Dungeon Lord will continue to try to progress towards this, but there's also cards in that event deck which will cause him to rampage and do random things like run for longer distances and all that kind of fun stuff. So that could occur at some point and could be terrifying. But as of right now, what I could do is try to use strategy in order to get him down this pathway. There is only one pathway right now that leads to us. I do not necessarily want to be going into here and connecting that right away before he's probably turned the corner. So what I kind of want to do is do things which are actually going to trigger Lord event cards in a way in which actually brings him closer to us and gets him around this bend. Now, I can actually see 2 different strategies playing out here. So one is the one I mentioned, which is to kind of draw him up and around this corner and then kind of skirt around. Or the other option is to maybe right now kind of purposely use Firelight in order to reveal this tile right here, which would connect on the shortest path, meaning if he has to move towards the heroes regardless of noise or with noise, he's going to try and take the shortest path to get to us, and that would kind of force him to kind of head this way. And we could actually run the opposite way around ourselves. So either way we could kind of go, but it would be a longer trek this way for us to get back to the merchant tile, but that's an option for us too. The other thing we can do, which is part of a strategy, would be potentially to shout. As an action, you spend 1 AP to shout in your space. That dungeon tile till the end of the round has a noise level of 6, which makes that area quite noisy and could attract his attention, but the downside is you have to roll a d20, and if you get a 1 through 17, nothing happens, which is what you want to have happen, but if you get an 18 through 20, a sentinel appears, and that is probably going to slow you down. You're going to be dealing with a tougher enemy that's going to be mixing into whatever strategy you hoped to pull off. And the Sentinel will become focused to the hero that did the shout, of course. I honestly think we should be a little bit risky here and just see how things pan out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Firelight. It's going to be actually a little bit fun. We have 2 AP remaining, so we're going to burn the last 2 AP we have. We're going to use the Firelight card right here, which has the Assess the Threat, so we'll go ahead and do that right after we go ahead and reveal the tile adjacent to us. All right, let's find out what that tile is going to be. It could be interesting, and off the top of the deck, it's going to be a 5. Oh no, that is going to be a miss card. That's going to be a little sketchy. That's going to connect like this with the arrow like this. Now, the good news is we're not going into that tile. We are revealing it from distance. Top card off the miss deck is Corrosive. It's an event. It says as you walk into the room, you sense that there is something different about this mist. You hear a popping sound. You look down and see mist eating through your gear. This mist damages your protective gear. So you can see that just right here. It says place -2 defense tokens in this dungeon tile and in body or footwear slots on the hero board. All heroes entering this tile place a -2 defense token in the body or footwear slot on the hero board. Repair at the merchant to remove from the slot. So I placed a -2 defense token in that tile, and if our heroes happen to move into that tile in the future, we're going to be taking a -2 defense to our body or our feet, which will impact our overall defense, which for Akashi is currently at 5, and for Sephiroth is currently at 3. We're not out of the woods yet. We have this assess the threat icon to resolve from Firelight. So let's go ahead immediately and draw that card and see what we get. Top card off the deck is a blue one yet again, moving towards the closest hero. All right, at this point, he's now at a crossroads. We'll have to see what he does in the future as we go through more Lord Event cards, but that's going to do it for Sephirin's turn altogether. She'll refresh her AP back up to 4, and we'll check to see if she triggered any Lord Event actions. She did not. She didn't run, and she didn't do any combat. Let's keep our heroes together. I'm going to have Akashi spend 1 AP in order to move in the same space as Sephirin, and then another AP in order to trade. And he's going to trigger a Lord Event action card pull at the end of his turn because he chose to move. So 1 AP for the move and 1 AP for the trade. We'll leave 1 remaining. We're going to go ahead and take a health potion from Sephirin and hand it over to Akashi. That'll give him his 10 coin value. And last but not least, I'll spend my final action point down to 0 to enhance bringing the orb from my inventory to my opposite hand from my one-handed weapon. And now this Iron Ice Sword has not only the ice element, but also fire. That's going to wrap up Akashi's turn. He's going to go ahead and replenish his 3 AP, and he did go ahead and trigger a Lord Event action as he moves, so we'll draw 1 card. Top card off the Lord Event deck is a 0, blue one. It says move towards a hero with 2 noise, otherwise move towards the highest noise. So in this situation, Sephirin's default noise is 3. She doesn't have her singing staff on her at all, so just the default of 3. Akashi has a default noise of 5, so nobody has a noise value of 2, so it is going towards the highest noise. The Dungeon Lord moving towards the highest noise will be this token right here, which represents 6 noise. You can see it in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, if this token was not in play right now, it'd be going towards the highest noise based on the heroes, and the highest individual with noise is Akashi at 5, which is currently right here. Again, he's taken the shortest path, so from this crossroads where he can go north or he can go west, west would take him through many more tiles to get there, whereas north is the shortest path. But in either case, whether this token is here or not, it is headed north. And the noise token inside the same tile as the Dungeon Lord will stay there even when he walks into it, as it can affect heroes in the future as they pass through it. That wraps up Akashi's turn. We go into the end of round maintenance, and there's nothing we have to do at this point, so we head on to the next round. This works out perfectly as it gives us an opportunity to get to the merchant tile, which is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and have Sephirin start us off first, and we'll go ahead with Akashi after. My strategy fell into place. We're going to run for the exit at this point as the Dungeon Lord has moved past the Crossroads tile. I'm calling it the Crossroads tile because there are 2 branching paths to get to our heroes. We're going to head south. So basically, Sephirin right now is going to go ahead and perform 3 run actions back to back to back. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sephirin only has 1 action remaining, and she also got that -2 defense token on her dashboard, but she went ahead and she chose to run, and that is a Lord Event action. Even though she did it 3 times on her turn, you're only pulling 1 Lord Event card for it. So we'll just end off her turn right here, not use that final action, and we're drawing for the Lord Event. She's refreshed her AP. Top card off the Lord Event deck is going to be red. It says move 1 towards a hero with 5 noise, specifically 5 noise. That is going to be Akashi. Otherwise, move towards the highest noise. Akashi's noise being exactly 5 is exactly where the Dungeon Lord is headed, 1 space. Taking the shortest path to get there, that'll wrap up Sephirin's turn. And now it's time for Akashi's turn, and he's going to use all 3 of his action points to run in order to make it to the merchant tile. Both of my heroes arrive at the merchant tile with 10 coins of value each, which is the minimum necessary in order to escape the dungeon and successfully complete the coin quest. It's also worth mentioning, normally when you run, you would go ahead and place a -2 defensive token, as you saw in part number 1, on the Akashi Warrior and Sephirin the Fire Mage, but because we were actually running to win the game, I didn't bother doing this. And that, my friends, wraps up the finale with a victory in Dungeons of Infinity's Coin Quest from Sky Kingdom Games. Now, it is worth mentioning that this game currently, as the release of this video, I believe until the end of February, has a 30% off sale going for it. So if you want to find the link to that, you'll find it in the pinned comment and video description. I did also want to touch base on something that could have also happened as we went through this encounter here. It's possible that I could have shouted, as I mentioned before, and if we had rolled on the shout action an 18 to a 20 on the D20, then that would have pulled a Sentinel into the equation. So if that had happened, I just want to show you what a Sentinel looks like from a card perspective. So say, for example, somewhere up in this area here, I decided to take a shout action and make the D20 roll. 1 to 17 means nothing happens, which is what you want to see. But if you get an 18 to 20, a Sentinel appears, and that will certainly add some spice into your play. In this case, the top card off would have been this wonderful Cobra-looking snake, and this would not have been good. A nasty one with a power 9 as well as a defensive 9, and of course, it's got some other effects like poison in the fray on top of it. One of the coolest aspects of the game is that you're unveiling a brand new dungeon every single time you play even the same scenario. And of course, how things pan out and what obstacles and what enemies are going to pop up in front of you at what time frames are going to be completely different in every single play. So for those of you out there watching that are really looking for a dungeon crawler that provides a unique experience every single time you play the game, on top of the fact you could play the coin quest multiple times and have completely different experiences every single time you play, this is definitely a game worth checking out. And that, my friends, wraps up this game showcase for Dungeons of Infinity from Sky Kingdom Games. Stay tuned to the channel as I'll be diving into a Skirmish Kingdom Cost expansion play of Dungeons of Infinity to show you how the expansion for this game flows and operates, as well as an extra addition to the showcase. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and it also helps you make an informed decision on it. And be sure to check out the links in the pinned comment video description if you're looking for this one right now. Thanks again for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.